It's time for a full breakdown of the Marlins 2025 draft class on today's show.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger2. I've been podcasting about the team for the last 4 seasons. I've been a diehard Marlins fan since I was about 12 years old. So thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And on today's show, I'm welcoming in Alex Carver over on X Marlins Miners, big prospect coverage over there. Alex, welcome in.
Yeah, Jeremiah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk draft with you. This was an interesting one for Miami from a couple of different lenses, so we'll get to that. But I'm glad to join you as always. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And yeah, on pretty much today's show is all about the draft. We're going to run through the day one picks. In the first segment, coming up next will be day 2, where the bulk of the Marlins draft was. And then finally take a look at the farm system and how it all kind of fits together. But interesting draft because the Marlins decided to go with all college players. Not one prep player was selected in this one. I found that very, very intriguing, not necessarily in a negative sense, but not necessarily in a positive sense either. I'm still trying to gauge it. So from your perspective, Alex, how did you feel about that aspect of the draft?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to signability, honestly. I also did expect them to at least get like 1 or 2 high school guys that are in the second or third tier of high school players that maybe won on the second day. In terms of the first day, I wasn't too terribly surprised. The one guy I really had eyes on was Jack Bauer, who's a super fiery lefty with like a 75 grade fastball. Controls a little bit of an issue, but he's literally 18 years old. So I was hoping that would have been the guy that they got there on day 1. I think they went Canarella instead. But yeah, not mad about it at all. They have a lot of young kids, especially pitching. Bauer's pitcher, especially pitching in the DSL levels that are that age. So they went a lot of positional too, on top of not only going college. So for a team that is hoping to open its window in 2 to 3 years, I like it in terms of the fact that these guys will be pushed harder and be ready sooner. So I really think that the Marlins kind of, on top of going with the best guys they thought were available, and in terms of how they had to spend the money, not go too over slot, not really, just spend it all on one guy. I think they spread it around pretty well with these college guys. I think they'll afford all of them, honestly. I think all of them will sign. So I think you'll see 23, 20, 21, whatever, 21, 22 new players come into the system. Whatever they had with the comp picks. And I think they'll sign all of them. Honestly, I don't think there's a guy that is not going to sign. Whereas in years past, especially with high school picks, of course, they want to pay attention to their college commit as well. You usually have to go over slot. So I'm not too terribly surprised. I think this fits well with what where the Marlins are in terms of the rebuild. So a little bit surprised, yeah, but not mad about it.
Yeah, I felt like that kind of set the tone by day 1 because they went with 4 college bats. And I personally wanted JoJo Parker. I mean, Ivar Arquette was probably the best college option available, but that really kind of set the groundwork for what happened immediately after. You had Canarella, and then you had Brandon Compton, Max Williams. 3 of those guys are, I would say, the ticket to the majors lies in their power. They, the hit tool for Arquette is better than Compton and Max Williams, obviously, but he's still a power bat. That's the ticket to the big leagues. Canarella is like the outlier for me, where it's just a complete 180 from those other 3 picks on day 1, just speed, defense, contact. Like, that's his calling card. How did you feel about day 1 as a whole? I have mixed emotions because for me, I wanted Parker, and then Max Williams was a bit of a question mark. I would have went in a different direction there, but I understand what they're going for with power.
Yeah, I mean, I think Arquette himself is pretty well rounded in terms. I think he is pull heavy. Honestly, to answer your question about pull or about power, I think he is a little bit pull heavy. I think that he really needs to see a bit more advanced stuff. He saw more advanced stuff for 1 year at Oregon State, and he did well. And power came up even more. Doubles were a little bit down. I think he had 17 double.
Yeah, something like that.
But the 19 home runs speaks for itself. And for an infielder to do something like that, even if it's just for 1 year, previously he was at Washington State, I think.
University of Washington.
University of Washington, sorry, in the Pac-12. So that conference is just okay, I would say. So yeah. I really want to see more him against more advanced stuff. In terms of what you're saying about him being rounded, I agree with that. I think that he is a pretty well-rounded player. I would question the fact that he could stick at shortstop, which was brought up to Palieri as one of the first questions in their press conference, and they really think so. I also talked to a source that actually the guy that scouted him, and he really thinks so too, that he's special at shortstop and he can stick there. When I look at some scouting grades, though, the scouting grades don't really favor that. A 50 grade at shortstop, normally that would say they're going to move off. But if that kind of power can persist against better stuff early in his major league career, I think that's going to speak for itself. Whether he has to move to second base or not, I don't think it'll matter because it's still a premium position. So I like the Arquette pick. I think it was one of the most well-rounded picks they could have made. I too would have liked Parker because I think he has a better chance to stick at shortstop personally, but that's me. But they really shortstop. He's going to get every single chance to stick at shortstop. I don't think it's going to be a short leash. They're going to give him a very good chance to stick at shortstop. The Cannarella pick, to answer your question on day one, again, I would have liked Bauer. Just saying, I really wanted that kid. But I don't think this is terrible either. I don't. I think it's more bat first than anything. I think that he has a little bit to prove in terms of what he can do defensively. So yeah, it's bat first. It's not a bad pick, but another older guy who's going to get pushed a little bit quickly. So I did favor Bauer in that spot. So I gave that pick just like a C grade, just because I think it's bat first. I bat pretty much only in my opinion, but we'll see what he does. What else? I mean, the Furrow pick I think was decent. I really like that one. A guy that transferred from UCF into FSU. So also not too much time at better conferences, right? But not a guy that's bad at all. I mean, for him to go there and climb up into the top 150 almost of MLB Pipeline's top 250, I think that shows a lot. I like that. I think that is good. It's a switch hitter. It's power from both sides. It's also playing off of shortstop already in his career, though. So I think that's definitely a guy that will move off of shortstop as he probably follows Ava up the system. So I like those three picks. I did favor Bauer. I wanted him, but I don't think those three picks were bad at all. So those are the three main guys that I think you're referring to here on day one.
Yeah, and going back to Iva really quick, I was saying on the show yesterday, because I think the Marlins have a hole at third base, like long term. If Norby, obviously he's had a really frustrating year, but if you can get Arquette, if he does move eventually from shortstop to third because he has the arm for it, then he could be, accelerated through this system. And that's kind of what I do like about the fact, selecting these college bats and college arms. Like, you're not going to be waiting 5-6 years. You could see tangible results on the Marlins 2027 maybe from Arquette. Like that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Because he was a 4-year player. Like, there's not a ton left for him in the Marlins organization to really work on. Like you said, like he's got to see better stuff, but I feel like he could be moved through the system fairly quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't expect too many of these guys. And by the way, I misspoke. Furrow was second day, but I guess we can get to
that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But they got Max Williams and Compton as well on the first day. Anyways, just to clear that up, we talk about Furrow in a second. I think he's solid. But yeah, no, I think all four of these guys that they got on day one will be pushed very quickly. I don't think too many of them will spend too long at Jupiter. Maybe after they tour the stadium, they go there for maybe a week and then probably right up to Beloit. So there's no FCL. FCL's ending. Even if there was, I don't think they would spend a lot of time there either. Maybe there instead of Jupiter. But I think these guys are all bound for higher levels very quickly. And like I said, this is no longer a 5 to 6, 7 year project. This is a 2 to 3 year project. And going college as often as they did and going bat when, in years past before this year, offense was their struggle and pitching was great in most years. This is kind of what they needed to do. They need to really gain more of an advantage with offense. So I think that they played into what they need to do. It's 3 outfielders, 3 of which I don't think are particularly great on defense. And Iva, who is apparently has the ability to stick at shortstop according to the organization. But if I look at scouting grades and video, I think he needs to do a lot in order to do that. But he's going to get every chance to do it. So the first round or the first day, was bat first for sure all the way. But they need offense and they need it in 2 to 3 years, and they believe in these guys. So I'm down for this. I thought the first day was fine. It could have been a little bit better, yeah, but I think I had them at a B- after the first day, so I don't think it was bad.
Let's move on to day 2, because that's where the bulk of the draft really comes into play, and that's where, if you're the Marlins, you're looking for those diamonds in the rough. We're going to talk about day 2 of the draft right after this. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are doing any of their summertime activities. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. The app's easy to use, and it has fast payouts. And one of the cool aspects of it is when you put these same game parlays on the app, those just normal regular season matchups, they're going to feel like a playoff atmosphere. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. I appreciate all the everyday listeners out there being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. Today, I'm breaking down the 2025 draft with Alex Carver, Marlins minors, for those of you who know him over on X. And we're moving on to day 2. This is where the bulk of the draft really took place. And I know you mentioned Drew Farrow out of Florida State right in the first segment. He was the first day 2 pick for the Marlins. And I liked it too. I like that pick too because he's a masher. He's got good EVs, good power. It's just like, can he adjust to breaking balls? I think those last 3 picks, you have Compton, Max Williams, and Farrow, each of whom hit the ball really hard. The Marlins selecting them says, all right, we believe in our player development system enough to get them to a point where their hit tool is consistent over a full season against elite stuff. So there's a clear plan in place. One of my favorite, I'll give you two favorite picks for the draft for my end was in the 7th round, Jake Clemente, hometown kid, South Florida. I watched him pitch. It's oddly enough, I remember watching him pitch for Florida, the Gators, and I'm like, this dude has an arm. Like, he's got an electric arm, 98 on the fastball, and he's got a slider. The issue is his third pitch, right? Like, will he stick in the rotation? Probably not. I've seen most scouts view him as a bullpen arm. And you know what? In the 7th round, I'm fine with that. If you can get a high octane arm and just say, all right, let's ditch the changeup. We're going to throw fastball slider and work on your command. I'm good with that. And then in the 8th round, I really liked Emilio Barrios from Grand Canyon University. Like, the dude struck out 7 times in almost 200 plate appearances. His contact skills are off the charts. Those were my 2 favorite picks from day 2.
Yeah, no, for sure. The Clemente guy kind of reminds me a little bit of Max Meyer. Honestly, it's a fastball slider. He really needs the third pitch if he's going to stick or to be a starter. But even if he's not where you got him there, I don't think it's bad. I mean, the guy's up to 99 with the 6th slider, and decent, actually, I think pretty good present control over those 2 pitches. So even if that guy is a reliever with where they got him, I think that's at 198. I think that's a win, even if he's just a reliever. So that was I think the first pitcher they got, right?
Yeah.
First pitcher they got, I think he's a good one. The work in progress will be to develop a third pitch. I think they'll try to make him a starter. But if it doesn't work out, you have a really good floor bullpen guy, especially with that really, really good slider. That pitch is sick. It's really good for him per the video that I've seen, really played up, and especially against metal bats, played up. So that's something I always like in college, just limit contact against metal bats. You probably have a decent chance of doing it against wood bats as long as your stuff can continue to play up, and I think his can. So I like that pick too. The Barreras kid, I mean, not bad at all. I think it's defense first and average first. So maybe like a Javier Sonoja style type guy. I don't know if you want to give it to a current Marlin, I guess.
Yeah.
So not bad. Also played in the WAC though, so it's competition. You got to kind of take it, not with a grain of salt, but there's better conferences. than whack. But man, that patience, like 27 strikeout or 27 walks and only 7 strikeouts, like that's sick. The guy never strikes out. So
Yeah, he's got a crazy good approach.
Yeah. Defensive standout at shortstop. I think he could definitely play it. He's played third base, so he could obviously play multiple positions. The arm's good. I like that pick too. The Faroe one, like I said before, the 2 years at FSU, he transferred in from UCF, so he did kind of prove it at that level over the 120 games that he played there. Just kind of needs to see a little bit more against more advanced competition, advanced pitching. I like that pick. Hits from both sides. I think that pick is one of my favorites in the draft. Was the Faroe pick. That was my kind of darling of day 2. I think that was a really good pick for them. I liked it a lot. And then I'll give you one other one from day 2. Is Jake McCutcheon. I like that guy. I think that he is good. Lefty hitting, righty throwing. I always like that. It proves athleticism. I think it's really good. 21, great junior season, and just tapped into huge power in his junior season. Never had it before. And then just all of a sudden went nuts with 15, not nuts, but went really well with 15 home runs. Again, you have to see how that matriculates to, you're hitting with a different style bat. You're hitting with a wood bat instead of a metal bat, but proved he could get on base every season. And then the power just came by itself. Like he tapped into it really well, just kind of out of nowhere. Skipped around a bit defensively. They put him at second. They put him at third. Most of 2025, though, maybe trying to take pressure off the bat a little bit. They put him in the outfield. But even if that guy's an outfielder, I think where they get him there, 288 overall in this draft, that's a solid pick because the offense plays
good
up.
value.
So I think he's good. I really like him too. Yeah.
And Clemente was actually the second pitcher they took because Joey
Volini
from
the guy
Florida
from
State.
FSU.
They took a lot of Florida State guys.
Yeah, the FSU guy. We can talk about him, but yeah, second pitcher. So not, like I said, not bad. Where they got him is definitely not bad.
Right.
So even if he is a reliever, I think it's still good. Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of day 2. Other than my only main gripe was the Bauer thing. That was kind of it.
Yeah, you wanted him.
I like that guy, and I think that he's going to play himself into like a top. If he continues to go on this trajectory, he's going to be like a top 3 round pick.
Well, that's where I kind of was with going back to the first round. I know we're focused on day 2, but the end of the first round when they had pick 78 and they went Max Williams, Anthony Ianson was still on the board, the pitcher from LSU. I would have loved to grab him. I thought the Red Sox had a steal, dropping all the way down to 87th overall, I think it was. And then another day 2 pick I liked just from limited time that I've seen stuff about him is Jaden Williamson from Lewis Clark State College. So small school guy, but they obviously felt high enough about him to draft him with the 11th round pick. And he's a big guy too, 6'5", 215. It makes me think that there's some projectability there in terms of just strength because, you could fill out the frame a little bit, maybe add a couple more ticks on the fastball. And I saw this one clip where his breaking ball, I think it's a slider. It has some nasty movement to it. So it's definitely something that you could just put in your system and put in the pitching lab and get to work on.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we all know what the Marlins can do with pitching. That hasn't gone away. There's been some movement with, front office staff and stuff like that and behind the scenes staff in the minor leagues, but the pitching development hasn't gone away. So I agree with you. Like these pitchers that they got I think are value picks for sure. I mean, they definitely bet on offense for sure in this draft. They went offense first for a reason. They have a lot of guys in the DSL that can pitch. They have a lot of guys in the system already, I think, that can pitch that are close. So I really think they went, you never really draft for a need, but I think here they really want to prove that, hey, this system can develop offense. And now we have a bunch of new guys to prove it with. And they already have good floors. So I think they did it for a reason. I'll give you just like a couple other names that I really liked I like this guy, Carson Laws, that they got. That's pitcher. So he, I know our buddy Jab likes him as well. Stuff's super good. And his motion is like super, super, super weird. So it's deceptive. Chase rate was crazy last year. He's like up to 95 with the fastball. He's got good vertical break. Slider's really good. It's like a gyro type. Like there's a lot to like about that pitcher where they got him. It is like 2 pitches pretty much so probably a guy that's going to relieve, but where you get him there at 408 we take it all
Right.
day.
Good value again.
But the pitchers is huge value. There's just so much value with these pitchers. And if they can add a third pitch, maybe these guys could start. Maybe if you get one starter out of those 3 guys that we mentioned, you win. And then the other 2 guys are in the bullpen and you do well. I like the pick after that too, Josh Hogue. That guy has always hit for super, super, super good power. It's lefty hit ready throw again. I always like to see that. The bat's always played up in his college career. It's good power. 562 last season with the slugging percentage, just super good. Local guy from Palm Beach Gardens High School, not too far. I actually work right near there. So, yeah, and he's from Jupiter, so he knows this area. He's going to be right at home here. He's going to do well, I think, in his development. And the super interesting part, outfielder for most of his college career, or at least most of his college career. They drafted him as a third baseman. So maybe they really believe in the arm. Maybe they believe that he can stick there. So they announced him as a third baseman. I guess they plan to give him some time there. I know he spent some time there in his college career, but was mostly limited to the corners. But if he could play third base at that pick at 438, that's a huge win. So if the Marlins develop that and get a third baseman at pick 438 that hits for power, they did really well.
Yeah, and it's almost like they have that positional flexibility with Jake McCutcheon too, where, like you said, he played in the corners. He can play second. He's listed as a second baseman. And if, I mean, they were both fairly late round picks. Now it's time to kind of look at the farm system as a whole and see where these guys slot in, because anytime you get a draft, you're going to have an influx of talent and there's a lot of moving parts. So we're going to talk about that right after this. You can listen to Locked On Marlins wherever you get your podcasts, on all the major podcast platforms out there. So Monday through Friday, listen to it on the go, as well as the YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed to that. Here with Alex Carver, talking about the farm system now and where these picks slot in, both in rankings and kind of where they're going to start out as. So let's start with the rankings, because I think this is fascinating. We're going to go off of the, fish on first top 25, because I have major problems with MLB Pipeline's rankings, what they do over there. It's frustrating to see. So the Fish on First team does a good job, though, keeping updated with that. The big question for me is, where does Iva Arquette kind of slot in terms of ceiling? I view him as a clear top 10 prospect in the system. I would even go as far as to say top 5, given Starlin Caba's struggles. Is that a reach to you, or are you kind of on the same board?
No, I don't think it's a reach at all. I think that you're right on kind of what our thinking is so far. We'll have updated rankings coming out. It'll be just after the trade deadline. We don't want to do post-draft just because we're going to have to redo it anyways, most likely, if they take a prospect. So we don't expect
the Hall is going to be crazy.
Yeah, we don't expect them to trade many prospects at this deadline, but there's always a chance that one of them sneaks in there, and then we got to do it again anyways. So what I would say to answer your question is that we are thinking, and, I don't want to knock any other outlet, not Pipeline. I don't like to knock any other outlets. There's different ways to evaluate prospects. There's different ways that prospects can be ranked. There's different people that believe different things about baseball. That is why I made the concerted effort, as I always have, to have more than one person contribute to a top prospects list. Before it was me and Daniel DeVivo, and we disagreed a lot. We agreed a lot, but we also disagreed a lot. And now it's me, and I'm bringing in not only one other person, but I'm actually bringing in, I think, 4 other people now contributing, and me. So me, Eli, Nate, Isaac, and Kevin are all contribute to our top prospects list, and maybe adding another one here shortly. I'll see what happens with that, just because of how good Sean has been with draft stuff. If he wants to contribute, I would allow him to and welcome him to do it. But anyways, that's our intern, Sean. He's been great. He did great work with this draft. And a lot of what I have heard about these draft prospects is from him and Hector Rodriguez, who also is our resident draft expert. And he did an amazing job with this, with their big words and everything else. So huge shout out to them. I can't mention draft stuff and talk about draft stuff without mentioning the work that Hector does. And Sean this year as well at Fish on First, our intern, is stepping in and just doing great work. I said it the other day on another pod, I expect him to be full-time before long, but we'll see what Eli decides. Anyways, to answer your question, I would expect, and what I would do, like if it's me now in our next rankings, what I'm looking at is third. Augustin Ramirez will have graduated. He's our second ranked prospect right now, so he will have graduated. I would put him just under Joe Mack. So I would keep Thomas White at number 1. I would put Joe Mack at number 2 just because he's a catcher and he's proved it all year long that what he did last year is no fluke, and I think he's going to make his debut this year at a position the Marlins really need. So Joe Mack, I think, will stick at number 2. And then it would be Avier Arquette after that, just because the Marlins think he could stick at shortstop and the bat is so far advanced. Again, I have the question about shortstop that will maintain until he proves it to me that he can do it, especially against higher exit velos at the next level. But we'll see. When you get on Major League dirt, it's different. You got to read a wood bat. It's different than reading a metal bat. Everything that goes into it. So we'll see what happens with him at shortstop. But betting on the bat is not a bad bet because this bat is very well rounded. It's a little bit pull heavy. He needs to fix that a little bit. As he comes into the minor leagues, I'm sure that's something that's going to be coached, and I trust this analytic department to be able to get the most out of his exit velos. So I like that pick a lot. I think that he will be 3rd on this list.
Yeah, that's kind of where I would put him to be honest. I think Joe Mack's locked in at 2. Obviously, Thomas White has an argument to be the best left-handed pitching prospect in baseball. I think he is, by the way. And then, you have the struggles of Caba just offensively. He hasn't gotten going. But going back to like the pipeline rankings, for example, like the reason I said that earlier was like they got Noble Meyer at 5th and Morlando at 7th. I'm like, you got to update this. Like, you got to update it. But the other prospect I think that could eventually start shooting up rankings is Cam Cannarella. He was one of my favorite picks. Like when I heard it announced, I was like, oh, let's go, just because the value you got for him. I think he slipped in the draft. Like coming into this season, he was definitely projected to go higher than, I believe, 40th, 43rd, right in that range. So the question is, can he stay healthy because of that shoulder surgery that he's had? And then obviously you want to see him tap into a little bit more power. He's not a guy that ever hit a ton of bombs in college, but you get him in the strength and conditioning program. I think good things can happen because the hit tool and contact's really good. So it's going to be interesting to see how fast some of these guys hit the ground running, because I mean, we're used to seeing some of these top draft picks for the Marlins just struggle right out the gate. And I think it's time we see some of these guys just, like you said, open up at Jupiter and hit the ground running, like go full throttle and kind of demand a call up to Beloit at least by the start of 26.
I agree with you about Cannarella. I think that's the other prospect that we will rank in our top 30 and the next time that we do it. I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but I would rank him in mine. He'd probably be closer to the probably second half of the list, I would say, without putting a number to it. I would probably put him like towards the second half of the list. Maybe I don't want to put a number to it. We'll see what happens with the rankings, but I'd probably put him somewhere in like the 15, 16, 17, 18 range, somewhere in there. Without looking at our list, that's just probably a guess, just based off what I remember. I'd probably put him in that category of like, for right now at least. And there's some debate with that prospect because there are reports that say he can definitely stick as a center fielder, and then there are other reports that say he can't. The huge weakness is his arm is literally not there. Right? He just doesn't throw the ball well at all. However, he does cover ground, and he's pretty quick. At least he was in years past, especially like stealing bases. I mean, this past year didn't really steal bases a lot, but I think that may have been intentional going into the draft. So yeah, I mean, the speed is there. He can cover ground. That's great. But if you have an arm where you can't really contribute outfield assists on a regular basis in center field, it's a big center field at Miami. So I don't particularly like that fact that Pipeline themselves, I would disagree with them in saying that he is a no doubt center fielder, is how they put it in their scouting report. I don't think I agree with that. But I do like the bat. And I think that it's his bat first. We talked about it. I think they went bat first here for sure. They went bat first, I think, with Arquette. So a lot of guys that they went bat first with, but it's not a bad thing. So again, to go in, here, what CBA round, I think that they did pretty well. I think that will be the other player that gets ranked because of the advancement with the bat and question marks around him in center field that would hold him back. But even if he's in a corner, I still think he's a top 30 guy.
Yeah, and as we wrap it up, one of the picks I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about, because I was watching his swing, and that's Brandon Compton. I just felt like the power and EVs are so tantalizing. Like, it makes you want to buy in so much, and that's obviously what the Marlins did. It's all about now, can you develop the hit tool? Can you get him to a place where he's not going to be hitting 190 and chasing 30%, 35% of the time? obviously that this organization, Frankie Pilieri, they believe that they can. I want to see it happen on the field because, I mean, we're Marlins fans. We've seen this story before. But overall, I think it's a high floor type draft, especially in the top end, where you're banking on guys like Arquette and Canarella to at least provide some value for you offensively moving forward.
Yeah, no, I think the Compton pick was not bad, but I think a little bit of a money saver, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Just huge question marks about his ability to hit. Really, just to put it nicely.
It's a hit tool.
He did. Yeah, I mean, he just has to develop the hit tool. He's not going to be good enough in the field to excuse the fact that he can't hit. So he's not going to do enough for an organization anywhere else if he can't hit the baseball. So this guy needs to hit. It really has to happen that he needs to stop chasing, especially breaking stuff. He really struggles against breaking stuff. But if I'm going to trust somebody to figure this guy out, I mean, why not the Marlins? I mean, this is analytical as hell. This is still a young kid. He's 21, so he still has time. It's not like you have to develop him tomorrow. You can give him 2 and 3 years, and he can still come up and be decent. So I have his floor pretty low, honestly. I don't think he's a top 30 guy, but I don't think it's a bad pick because the Marlins are betting on the fact that they can develop the bat. And if they can, there's good raw tools there. I mean, there's good, really raw power there. There's really good raw stuff there. It's just stuff that really has to be developed. Kind of like a pitcher who throws, kind of like Bauer, who's in high school. I'm still obsessed with that guy, by the way. Who throws 95, but still can't control the baseball. You got to build him up. You got to develop that tool. There's more time for Bauer because he's a high schooler. I would like to see him. They didn't do it. Whatever. They get this guy. He's 21. He's still pretty young. He still has time. They can build it up. They just really need to hit the ground running with him, I think. And in his first and second year of development, we at least need to see consistent stuff at the plate from Compton, and I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm excited to see what happens, especially going with the wood bat. You're in the pro ranks. A lot is different than college, and this is a big test for these draft picks and for the Marlins player development system as a whole. Well, I want to thank you, Alex, for coming on the show and doing this breakdown with me. It's awesome. Always great to talk with you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Follow Fish on First, not just me. We have an army that does this stuff. And like I said, props to Hector, props to Sean for doing everything they did with the draft. It was amazing. Year over year, these guys do great work. So even if you don't follow me, follow Fish on First. Follow me too, but follow those guys. They're great. Read the site. We got a live stream tonight. We'll be back with more stuff. And yeah, thanks a lot for following along. And thanks, Jeremiah, again for having me on. This was great.
Absolutely. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go Fish.